Hello, BookTube. I have some mail to show you and also some new purchases. I went to the bookstore the other day in a peak of outrage in response to what I've described. There's a thread that ran in late 2019 that ran throughout most of our little corner of BookTube, a thread of bushy-bearded Bolshevism, people looking straight into the camera and saying, I don't plan on buying any books in 2020. I'm going to read what I already have. This filled me with a righteous indignation and a desire to buy more books in 2020 than I have ever bought before, and I intend to do that. And I went to the, I have a Barnes & Noble that's relatively on my route on the days when I'm out and about. And I went to the Barnes & Noble the other day, and I confess, when I was there, I didn't see anything that really struck me, except for 2 periodicals. I would have been 3 periodicals. I would have bought the new New Yorker, but I always forget until I'm right there in line waiting to pay. I always forget that I let my subscription to the New Yorker lapse, and I shouldn't have done that. I will have to correct that. But I always forget how much a single issue of the New Yorker costs. It's almost $10 for a single issue of the New Yorker, so I put it back. But with these other 2, I didn't. I should subscribe to them as well, not for any savings. I don't think you save any money when you subscribe to these things, but because subscription monies are what magazines live on, and these magazines deserve to live. These are, I mentioned them, I praised them on this channel before. This is Asimov's science fiction. This is the January-February issue of Asimov's that features Neil Asher, Dominica Pettyplace, Alan Steele, a bunch of other people. This is the I love these square-bound digest science fiction things. Asimov's science fiction, analog, and also science fiction and fantasy, they're all just fantastic. Guaranteed in every issue at least once to present you with a story that just makes your whole body tingle. It's that good. Sometimes no more than once, but it's a small price to pay for that to do it regularly. And the other one is Analog. I also got Analog. They're celebrating their 90th year with this retro design that I think their design used to be indistinguishable. Do I have an Analog here? Yes, I do. This is the last Analog, the last issue of Analog, indistinguishable from Asimov's in a way. But I really hope that they continue this retro look throughout their 90th year. That's fantastic. And this issue features Serena Dory, Eric Choi, Alec Navala-Lee, who did a nonfiction work called Astounding that was just amazing about her formative years of science fiction. So I got these 2. When I was at the bookstore. But I intend to buy a lot more at the bookstore and every other bookstore to compensate for the pinko commies all throughout our corner of BookTube who have decided that they're not going to buy any books in 2020. Anyway, in addition to that, there's also a little bit of mail, which I'm gonna hasten to rather than dwell on the shrieking hypocrisy of me calling for people to buy more books when I get 10 books in the mail every day for free. Just don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain, okay? I still want you all to go out and buy books. What's the matter with you people? It's enormous fun to go out and buy books. The rationale on the commie channels that I've watched has been, why should I go out and buy new books when I have all these books in my home that I haven't read? It's so wasteful. Well, I can tell you the answer to that question, and you already know it, because you feel it inside yourself when you're in a bookstore. It's fun to buy a book. It's fun to buy new books. It's fun to suddenly realize, oh, this week, I happen to have an extra $20. I know just what I want to do with it. I want to go to the bookstore and know that I can spend $20. So I'll shop all around. The browsing is fun. The wondering is fun. The winnowing is fun. The sitting down and sampling is fun. And the buying is fun. Why are you going to deny yourself all that? Just to satisfy Karl Marx. Anyway, well, we've got a few packages here. We'll just go through and see what we have. Oh no! Oh no! Okay. All right. This is I already have a copy of this book. This is a double of Sai Krishna Bangalore Prakash's The Living Presidency. Oh, but we do have my package disposal unit, which we did. Frida, up on your hind legs. There you go. Oh, the bean. There's the bean. Who are those people, Frida? Who are they? Do you want this? I did new arrivals. I did a video today on new bookish arrivals, and this was one of them. The Living Presidency was one of them. But you didn't have that. You didn't have Frida tearing apart packages. So you already know this, since I'm sure you all watch every video that I upload. But this is the author is concerned, as all sensible people are, especially this week in this week's news. The author is concerned about the growing unchecked power of the presidency in America. How the president gets to do anything he wants without any oversight. That is not in the Constitution. That is not the way the office is supposed to be. And this author writes about that, describes the gradual aggrandizement of the presidency, and lays out steps for how to fix it. So I, as I said when I first got this thing, it goes right on the list. I want to read it right away. We'll see what this next one is. Oh, this is cardboard, Bean. Do you want some cardboard? Oh, you do. It's a silly question. All right, so what have we got here? Historical fiction? Yes, historical fiction. Yes, so this is early February. This is The Light After the War by Anita Abriel. The Light After the War. Inspired by the incredible true story of two Jewish friends who survived the Holocaust, The Light After the War is a sweeping novel of love and friendship that spans World War II from Budapest to Austria, and the post-war years from Naples to Caracas. Perfect for fans of The German Girl and We Were the Lucky Ones. It is 1946 when Vera Frankel and her best friend Edith Bahn arrive in Naples. Refugees from Hungary, they managed to escape from a train headed for Auschwitz and spent the rest of the war hiding on an Austrian farm. Now, the two young women must start new lives abroad. Armed with a letter of recommendation from an American officer, Vera finds work at the United States Embassy, where she falls in love with Captain Anton White, W-I-G-H-T. But as Vera and Edith grapple with the aftermath of the war, so too does Anton, and when he suddenly disappears, Vera is forced to change course. Their quest for a better life takes Vera and Edith from Naples to Ellis Island to Caracas as they start careers, reunite with old friends, and rebuild their lives after terrible loss. Okay. So who is Anita Abriel? She was born in Sydney, Australia. She received a BA in English Literature with a minor in creative writing from Bard College and attended UC Berkeley's Master's in Creative Writing program. She lives in California with her family and is the author of The Light After the War, which was inspired by her mother's story of survival during World War II. So is this her debut? Is that what I'm reading here? Boy, I'm getting a lot of debut fiction. Yeah, this is her debut. Fantastic. Oh, fantastic. Okay. All right, great. So this comes out in early February. Historical fiction. World War II historical fiction has never been hotter. The Light After the War. All right, and then we have the box. We have the one box for today, and then we'll be done. So, there's no law that says I can't make a video that isn't 30 minutes, right? There's no law that says I can't make a brief video. Baby, do you want this? You do. She does. She is very... like, all right, what have we got here? Oh, man. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, incredible. Okay. This comes out. This comes out in a week. This comes out in mid-January. Incredible. Oh, man, it's so pretty. Okay. All right. This is... There are two causes for celebration here. In addition to the overarching cause for celebration, which is academic presses. This is from Princeton University Press. Let us raise a toast at tonight's dinner to academic presses. They are the greatest thing. They are the greatest gift to readers because of the things they can do. The things they have the financial backing to do that if they were purely commercial houses, they absolutely couldn't do. But this, aside from that, this is great for two reasons. This is a new translation. This is a translation of Spinoza's Ethics. The Ethics of Spinoza. Those of you who don't know Spinoza, those of you who have not read this author, are missing a great deal. This is an amazing thinker, an amazing writer as well. So that is cause for celebration number one, is that this is a new paperback of The Ethics of Spinoza. And cause for celebration number two is that this this translation of The Ethics of Spinoza is by George Eliot. Not just any George Eliot, but the George Eliot, the great George Eliot. Let's hear about this, shall we? In 1856, Marian Evans completed her translation of Benedict de Spinoza's Ethics while living in Berlin with the philosopher and critic George Henry Lewes. This would have become the first edition of Spinoza's controversial masterpiece in English, but the translation remained unpublished because of a disagreement between Lewes and the publisher. Later that year, Evans turned to fiction writing, and by 1859, she had published her first novel under the pseudonym George Eliot. This authoritative edition makes Eliot's translation of the Ethics available to today's readers while also tracing Eliot's deep engagement with Spinoza before and after she wrote the novels that established her as one of the English literature's greatest writers. Claire Carlyle's introduction places the Ethics in its 17th century context and explains its key philosophical claims. She discusses George Eliot's intellectual formation, her interest in Spinoza, the circumstances of her translations of the Ethics, and the influence of Spinoza's ideas on her literary work. George Eliot's translation remains one of the most compelling and philosophically astute renderings of Spinoza's Latin text. Carlyle's edition includes notes that indicate Eliot's amendments to her manuscript and that discuss her translation decisions alongside more recent editions. In other words, the whole package. You're not just getting George Eliot's translation of Spinoza, you're also getting everything about it in context. And Claire Carlyle is a reader in philosophy and theology at King's College London and a regular contributor to the Times Literary Supplement. Her books include Philosopher of the Heart, The Restless Life of Soren Kierkegaard, which I think is out this year in America. Isn't that a new book? Isn't Philosopher of the Heart a new book? I don't think Philosopher of the Heart is even out in America yet. I think it comes out in 2020. On Habit and Kierkegaard's Philosophy of Becoming. She lives in London. Okay, well, all right. I'm going to try not to go nuts here, but this is George Eliot's translation of Spinoza. Some of you, that's going to seem as wonky gets, but oh my, not me. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so this is not just the translation, that would be great enough, but also its setting and context. Great, fantastic. Okay, so so this mail all includes a book that I will be reading immediately. I'll be reading as soon as I turn off the camera. So we have the George Eliot translation of Spinoza, of Spinoza's Ethics. We have The Light After the War, a debut novel from this author, and we have The Living Presidency, a study of the imperial presidency and what to do about it. So there you go. That is our mail for today. That plus Analog and Asimov's, which I went out and spent good old-fashioned American money to buy in a bookstore. And I intend to keep doing that. I'm going to buy a book tomorrow and show it to you. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now. That is the mail at less than 40 minutes. Amazing. But I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.